This alone can help you if you're in a hot area. As it's getting too hot, it suddenly cooled down. This stuff is really strong. I have been using it now for over a year, and we went through some really bad windstorms, and not one setup blew apart or blew over. It's worth a try. It isn't going to cost you that much. I have nothing but good things to say about it. Oh my gosh, this is like better than Tool. No, it's not better than Tool. I use Tool on it. Hi, it's Robbie from Southern California. I'm done. Not only am I done with this, I've already done the video on doing it, but I added more stuff in. I am so excited. I did a lot of clips as I was going. I showed something that was there, that was over there, and then I fixed it where it's going to work perfect. And you know what? Let me first drop in the clips on what I did so you can see and get a feel of what I'm talking about, because today I am talking about irrigation tubing, and no, it's not for water. So watch my clips that I did while I was working on this. You know, it took me 3 days, and it's not working from morning till night. It's working a couple hours a day, but I did all the totes. I put in the irrigation tubing the way I want, and you know what's really cool? All of these just lift up. If I want to change them, move them to another, you know what? Let's get into the clips I did, and then we'll come back, and you can see, we'll walk around why I'm doing what, and why I think so much of this is going to work for you, not only now, but maybe through the summer, because it is working for me. So I'm going to fix up some of the irrigation tubing. Now this I put up last year. This has done a fabulous job for me, and I'm actually going to leave it. It's not the prettiest thing maybe, but you know, it is so functional, and it protected my watermelon last year. I'm going to leave it just the way it is. Now this I did a year ago, and I've been really pleased with it. And if you go back and look, you'll see that what I did was I taped, when I was done, with tape a bar across it. But we can do this differently, and I'm going to go ahead and fire up my soldering iron that's down there, and I'm going to make a hole through and through, all the way through, and then you won't have this. It won't collapse on itself, and it's going to be really stable. So here is one of the first irrigation tubing setups I did. One of them. I did a few. Somebody copied me, but they didn't realize there was a side beam in here. And when they put it together and they did the whole video and they still launched it, the whole thing collapsed. They didn't see that you need some sort of physical holder for this. But I'm going to actually lift it and move it, and then I'll get some irrigation tubing and I'm going to put it in there, and we're going to set it up right. And then I'll come back and show you exactly the right way to set this up where it will stay really sound and structured while your plants are growing. Let me go ahead and do this, and it's the same way like I always do it. I'm going to make the hole just like this, going through with my soldering iron, and I'm going to have the tomato stake go through all of them, and this way it will be nice and stable, and I can either drape tulle over it, I could tie string to it if I was going to do a plant that needs to be trellised, or I can even throw some fabric over it for a hot sunny day to give the plants that are growing in here some shade. So here it is. So what I did was I put a hole that goes all the way through. Soldering iron makes it really easy. One that goes all the way through there. I almost broke this one in half, but I didn't. It still worked. I thought I was going to have to change it. And then there, all the way through. And look at this. If the wind even blew, it's not going anywhere. I can now use it as a cover. I can use it as a trellis. I can use it any way I want. Let's look at all of them real quick. And then I want to tell you what my real thoughts on this, because I love it. This is just simply here right now to shade my plants. Look at it. If you look, you see shade through there. Stripes of shade. This goes on all day. This is nothing but stakes. And you know what? This one is rebar. Just some cutoffs that I had. And this one is a wooden stick. There it is. From a tree. This is not bulged from this. The tote is bulging. I did that. But see if you can see. It's not from that. So I just wanted you to see that. This has been a fabulous setup that I could trellis plants if they come up, and I could tie them to it, or I could just simply have it to create a little bit of sunshade. Same thing here, but I grew watermelon on this last year. This was here, and I moved it here. This is the one I just put together. I've got, what, 6 stakes from the 99-cent store. You get them 2 packs for $1, $1.50. This has been fantastic. Same thing. I can use this for trellising. I can use it for shading. I could cover this with tulle. Even any of those, just drop tulle on it. If I was dealing with insects, there's a ton of stuff you can do. This I haven't set up yet. These are the bins, and I am going to set them up. This one is one of the first ones I set up. I used the bins and then I taped it last year. This is over a year old now. This is painter's tape. So if you didn't want to get fancy and do this, you pick out what works for you. You could just make the bends, and if they move, you think they're moving too much, take some painter's tape. It lasts over a year. And then what did I do here? Yarn. I just tied some yarn. You can use string. You can put painter's tape. This now becomes a trellis. You can use that as a cover. You can put a flag or fabric over it, or tulle if you were going to cover something. Again, you've seen me make these. There's just taking a piece and doing a cutoff. Why? I'll show you in a minute what I do with that. This was my very first one. This is without the tulle. I was making these out of fabric. There's a video on that. Rolled out with foil for bends. So I would have corners for my tomato stakes. Though it works, it's a lot of work. It can take me 15, 20 minutes to make a few of those. This, to bend, seconds. So time to me is important. Now this is fun. This I went from multiple totes, and I've got the top there. And here I put 4. Okay, so this one's with a tomato stake. This one I believe has got rebar. This has got rebar, and this is a tomato stake. And then here I made, like I told you, see, let me push this down so you can see it. This is just a piece of tubing. The hole goes through. I slip them down. I could have slipped 3 or 4 of these if I wanted to make more of something. Let's say I was going to grow a tomato plant in here, and I want a few of these coming through to tie my tomato plant, or peas or beans or anything. You just slip them on and leave them. You're not going to use it, then just leave it, and then they're there if you want it, or you can change it up later. I'll do that later. I'll pull it back up. It takes 2 hands. But you can change this around. It's a puzzle. It is absolutely a puzzle. Now, if you're in the desert and you're going to be, in the 80s and 90s and you want to shade your plants, look at this. I have 4 of them there, right? You could stick 10 of them. And what does it cost? 10 cents a foot. You could have 10 hoops, and what it will do is create a massive amount of shade for your plants. But on top of that, they don't blow. They don't do anything. They're round. So the wind just goes around them. It just blows. They don't even move in the wind. And then here I put 3 different sizes, just because that's the way I did it. This has got a taller stake, 2 stakes here. So I've got this going up. I've got watermelon coming up here. And right now it's going to create shade. Sun, shade, sun, shade. Again, I have 3, and you can do this in buckets. You can do this in any type of container gardening. You could do it in the ground. If you've got your plants growing in the ground, you can stick some tomato stakes in there, put the hoops on there. You don't have to put anything on there. Of course, you can put fabric, tulle, whatever you want. But the point I'm saying is you now have created for your plants, no matter what the weather is, sun, shade, which is very natural for plants as the trees are planted up there and the plants are underneath. And see how you've got sunshade underneath? All through there, that's what you're doing in your garden. You're creating sunshade. See if you can use this. I'm not selling irrigation tubing. I'm just trying to make your gardening needs easy, because I need it easy. And they're flexible, easy to carry around, light to carry around. You can do anything with them. I can't think of anything bad. So let me rant and rave about it and step back and tell you my other thoughts and ideas. But look at this. Isn't this fun? And with this one, like I said, I don't know how I'm going to set this up yet, because I'm not sure, but all I have to do is bend it and put a stick in there and a stick there and decide where I want it. It's portable. You move it. You want to anchor them in like I showed you before and put the irrigation tubing in there, fine. But when you've got them set up like this, you don't have to even put the irrigation tubing there. It holds together because it's a puzzle. See how this is? They're just sitting in there, and it's solid. It's rock solid because it's held together like a puzzle. So now I hope I've given you ideas no matter where you are. This alone can help you if you're in a hot area where your plants are not getting enough shade, there's too much sun. I think in the desert, when you're hitting those high temperatures, You can put multiple of these. You could have 10 of them strung across. And you'll think, well, wait a minute, now they're not getting any sun. They're getting enough. Think of Gary's garden. He's got that shelter that's built on top, and he's got the most fabulous garden. The reason his garden is doing great is because the sun is constantly doing the sunshade, like over my hand here. The plant is getting all the sun it needs, but it's getting a shade going across. So as it's getting too hot, it suddenly cooled down. And then too hot, think about it. It's worth a try. It isn't going to cost you that much. I used very little irrigation tubing in here. I paid, what, $40? It changes. The price goes from $35 to $50 for 500 feet. You don't have to buy that much. You can buy the rolls smaller. They come in all different sizes. The first one I bought, I think, was 25 feet. And then I found out I could buy 50 and it was cheap. You could buy a small package for like $10. I think you get 50 feet for about $10. Double check. Look at Home Depot. Look at Lowe's. The first ones I bought was Walmart.com. I bought my first roll there. And then try it. See if you like it. This stuff is really strong. I have nothing but good things to say about it. Absolutely nothing but good things. I can't think of anything bad. I'm using it for sunshade. I can also take a flag and attach a flag or fabric or something to it. Now, when you attach fabric, then the wind might push on it, but let me tell you something. I have been using it now for over a year, and we went through some really bad windstorms. And not one setup with the irrigation tubing, not one blew apart or blew over. It went through the wind, it went through the snow, it went through hail, it went through all kinds of storms. They're all up. And if you saw, which I think you did see, this one was here. It's put together like a puzzle. I lifted the whole thing up yesterday out of this and put it in here. This one was here in one tote, but now I've got this going kind of in the third, but I stopped. I decided since this one is turned, it would kind of look a little awkward, even though I did put one in here. But I could have done 3 totes. You don't like it? Change it. That's what's so great about it. It's a puzzle. You can make curves for your tomato stakes or your sticks. You can make round circles out of it, bends, side shoots. I mean, wow. I mean, you just think as you're building it, I wanted to go this way. I wanted to go that way. I think once you get it and you start setting it up in your garden, you're going to just be blown away by it, because I am just so excited. This is going to give me so much opportunity that if I wanted to grow lettuce here, I could cover this whole thing and I could have lettuce growing here. Right now I've got watermelon growing in there. I've got watermelon growing in there. I've got all this zucchini. I've got tomatoes. I'm probably going to do some cucumbers here and maybe some other plants in here too. I'll see where I'm going to plant what. I don't think you can find anything cheaper. And not only cheaper, better. Think of the shape of what the tubing's like. It's round. What is a tree? A tree is round. Trees aren't square. So when the wind comes, it is blowing around the tubing. This is why it's not going to blow down. Some of you said, well, I have no way of covering. I've got high winds all summer. This is going to blow around. The wind is going to hit it and keep going. It's round. It's not hitting a wall. There's no wall here. I think this might answer your question on what am I going to do with the high winds. Buy some small rolls. Buy a small roll and try it. Set it up. Set it up with either stakes you've got. You want to get rebar? Go look at a construction site. If there's construction sites all over the United States. Drive over to one if they're building a shopping center or a house or something, or building a block wall or any type of fencing. Say, hey, do you have those cutoffs you're going to throw away? Because that's what it is. They're happy to give it away. I use also sticks from the garden. You can use anything. Look at it and think about it, and it may be the answer to some of your issues. So with that, have a wonderful day, and don't forget to eat what you grow. Bye-bye. Oh my gosh, this is like better than Tool. No, it's not better than Tool. I use Tool on it. Oh my gosh, my favorite thing. And I have so many more projects and ideas coming.